Well, hello and welcome to my podcast, Manna at the Tap. My name is Gloria, and today is known as Holy Saturday or Silent Saturday between Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday, and it is March 30th, 2024. In the recap of Holy Week, I want to highlight additional events that occurred on Good Friday but were not included in the lectionary readings for the week. Judas was upset. Without speaking to Jesus or the other disciples, he made a deal with the religious leaders to betray Jesus. He was the treasurer for the disciples, and according to John, he was always stealing funds for himself. His anger exploded when Mary of Bethany used expensive perfume to wash Jesus' feet and dry them with her hair. Judas openly spoke that it was a waste of money and that the proceeds from selling the perfume could have been used to help the poor. Isn't it interesting when people want to tell you what to do with your gifts? Jesus defended Mary and told Judas to leave her alone. But Judas had had enough of Jesus and went to the chief priest to propose a deal. He asked, "What are you willing to give me if I deliver Jesus over to you?" They counted out 30 pieces of silver for Judas. From that moment, Judas was looking for an opportunity to hand Jesus over. Later on, Judas came to the garden in the Kildron Valley with a Roman cohort. That was about 600 armed men, along with some officials from the chief priests and the Pharisees to arrest Jesus. Judas kissed Jesus to identify him to the soldiers, but Jesus had already answered, "I am he." Later on Good Friday, when Judas saw that Jesus was condemned, he was seized with remorse and tried to return the 30 pieces of silver, saying, "I have sinned, for I have betrayed innocent blood." The religious leaders told him that it was his responsibility, and he threw the money into the temple and left. On Good Friday, women were present around the cross, some watching from a distance. They had been following Jesus and caring for his needs during his ministry in Galilee. At midday, the sky became overshadowed with darkness, and by 3 p.m., when Jesus died, the women saw the tomb where he was laid. But it was then time for them to go home. In obedience to the commandment, the women rested on the Sabbath. Silent Sabbath, which is between Good Friday evening and early Sunday morning. It was early on Sunday morning, and they were up and ready. They were uncertain about who would roll away the heavy stone from the mouth of the tomb, but they walked towards the tomb in faith, carrying their spices with them to anoint the body of Jesus. When the women arrived at the tomb, they found that the stone had already been rolled away, and an angel gave them this message: "He's not here, he is risen. And Jesus has left you a message. Go and gather my disciples and let them know I will meet with them tonight." Women played a vital role in the crucifixion. They were last at the cross and first at the tomb. Here at the tomb, they were transformed from caring for the dead to being the carriers of the message of Jesus. They heard the last 7 sayings of Jesus while he was on the cross. And here are these sayings. Number 1, Jesus asked his Father to forgive the crowd that called for his crucifixion as they were unaware of what they were doing. Number 2, when one of the thieves on the cross asked Jesus to remember him when he came into his kingdom, Jesus replied that he would be with him in paradise that very day. Number 3, saying, while Mary, the mother of Jesus, stood with John, Jesus asked John to take care of his mother and for his mother to accept John as her son. Number 4, as the darkness descended at midday, Jesus cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? He felt abandoned by his Father and quoted words from Psalm 22. Number 5, Jesus called out that he was thirsty and someone ran to get him a drink. Number 6, with a loud voice, Jesus cried, it is finished. Number 7, in Jesus' final saying on the cross, he moved from feelings of abandonment and forsaken by his Father to feelings of a reunion in relationship with his Father, committing his spirit into his Father's hands. These 7 sayings are traditionally called words of forgiveness, salvation, relationship, abandonment, distress, triumph, and reunion as Jesus committed his spirit into his Father's hand. Let us not scatter like the disciples, but let us rest until the Sabbath is over as we wait for resurrection morning. Thank you so much for joining me. I trust you are filled with manna to feed your soul.